is Harvey, and introducing him is Ben.
I would like to start off by saying I didn't write this glorious introduction alone. I had the help of a grand panel of scholars and some of the brightest intellectuals that this world has ever known. His name is Taylor Thompson. And now to the introduction itself. Harvey Kemp. We all know the man that prowls these halls, but do we know him? That appearance of security and grace is matched only by repeated failures and letdowns, most commonly in forms of missing assignments, missing papers, missing forms, missing detentions, and a missing cheeseburger. This bundle of fun is actually just preoccupied running the world. He owns the second chair on the back row in the lounge, as though it was his throne. He rules over his domain behind his deteriorating excuse for a laptop. His best accomplishment, though, is this head. Don't ask me what it is, just accept its awesomeness. Most importantly is Harvey's sick mane. Ladies and gentlemen, don't be embarrassed if you've been caught staring at his beautiful hair from time to time. We've all been there. His head creates hair that has the shine of an angel and the embodiment of a Greek god. God, you look good. Harvey is so impressive that the government wanted to clone him. Yes, cloning is definitely real. Just look at his younger brother. His brother is Collegiate's own version of Mini-Me. This isn't actually an accomplishment, I just really wanted to state it. But in all seriousness, Harvey is a classy gentleman who rocks out to his own rhythm and doesn't let anyone else's beat get in the way. Harvey, you are one of the greatest friends that I've ever had. You've always been there for me without question. Harvey is one of the most loyal people that I've ever met, and our romance knows no bounds. And he always has an unlimited supply of gum. Pretty sweet, right? Now, let us all put our hands together. Not just because this is Harvey's senior speech, but because this is the first time Harvey has turned in a paper on time in the past 10 years.
Although many of you know me as the one who gets everything done last, I am also first in many critical things, balancing my life out to a basic level of mediocrity. Within my family, I am usually the first in everything. For instance, I was the first in my family to be born in America, or in a hospital for that matter. Post-Korean War South Korea really sucked, as my parents tell me. People were rarely being born in a hospital, and birth dates weren't even remembered because babies weren't expected to live that long. It was also a time of extreme poverty. Imagine being the only person in your town with a TV. That was my mom. My dad, on the other hand, didn't grow up with luxuries like a TV, and instead would go out into the forest and the mountains around him with his friends, and lived a man versus wild lifestyle where he would find bugs and eat them. Good story right before lunch, am I right? Another first is that I hopefully fulfill is that I will be the first to graduate high school, but that's only if Mr. Rich passes me in English. As many of you may know, school isn't exactly the place where I shine. As the always wise Sierra Denker puts it, you procrastinate after the day it's due. And it's true. I have always struggled with turning papers in on time. The problem has become so severe that sadly, it has become one of my defining characteristics. I was a fine student until I entered middle school at a school like Collegiate. I had to adjust to this new routine where I actually had to do papers longer than half a page, and as this workload piled up, I started getting lazier and lazier every year since. I seem to follow this pattern of doing okay in the beginning of the year, but then there is this sudden drop in that grade, and I'll try to recover, but I can never seem to go back to that point of doing okay. And while I don't enjoy school, and I realize I probably shouldn't say that in this temple of knowledge and scholarly heights, English classes are the worst. Papers are just so painful for me. I hate them. Everybody has their own image of hell. Mine would be forever being trapped with the company of a typewriter and a deadline. Collegiate has a focus on writing that is so big, it make you write even outside of the classroom. The senior autobiography, which was a series of questions that Miss Carter gave us to answer about ourselves, was a huge struggle for me. Even though it was due on August 1st, I turned it in 3.5 months later in November, which was still after Mrs. Carter's threat to not write a recommendation for anyone who had not done it. My hatred of writing papers also led Mr. Rich to believe I had a writing disorder. But luckily, I have many other much more important parts of my life to make up for my procrastinative nature. Eating. I dominate eating competitions. I love things like being the first person to beat Taylor Thompson in an ice cream sandwich eating contest. It was advisory meeting and Mr. Ron Johnson had decided to bring in 2 boxes of ice cream sandwiches. Taylor failed after 8, but I was still hungry and went on to eat 10. I also attempted the Coach Fitz challenge in that restaurant in Chicago, where I had to eat the 2 disgusting triple patty burgers that were plain besides the grease. And even though I could only get through a burger and a half, I still felt as though I had accomplished something, and I did. I showed myself that I have a pretty strong stomach, and also it's a challenge because you have to prevent yourself from throwing up because of the smell. Ben describes it well, but he uses words that I can't repeat in front of teachers. I think that this challenge showed me that no matter what stands in the way, you should just keep on going, and I should have finished the challenge, but I didn't want to ruin their nice metal throw-up bucket that they gave me. I have had people tell me stupid things like, "Harvey, you eat too quickly." Or they ask me, "Where did your food go?" And it's just because I don't eat food. I inhale it. Maybe I'll just quit school and focus on a competitive eating career and be like Kobayashi and represent my homeland. Another thing people know me for is that flowing mane that I had last year. Oh, don't worry, I'm growing it back and it'll be better than ever, especially because I'll be going to college next year and will be free from my Tiger Mom's reign. I will grow it to a nice long ponytail like the samurais of old. So look to the western horizon and I will be there like the flaming sun at dusk. Do what you can and don't let school get in the way of your education.
Thank you, Harvey. That was really good too.